All right, kicking off another episode of Zen and Callsigns. Got another amazing guest, Prashant Aggarwal. Thank you for being on the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Excited.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we met about 2 years ago
Yep.
here in Bali, bringing our kids to the green school. I don't know if we met and I immediately asked you to be on to do this, but at least I've been chatting with you a little while, so I feel like it's good. It's good to have you here. So if we can kick off, so Prashant is a father, CEO, ringing the bell in the Nasdaq of a company he brought public to MoneyHero. So I'd like to, as we do, just hand it over to you to kind of start back of young Prashant, wherever that is, of culminating moments. And we, as we do, we kick off from, that in India, where are you exactly? And then we kind of walk through that to present day. And so without further ado, I'll kick it over to you. So let's go.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, indeed. We've been talking about doing this for a while, pretty much since we met. And, finally here we are. So good to be here. So, a bit about myself and my background. So I was born and brought up in New Delhi, in India, to very humble beginnings. My mom used to work in a school. My dad was in the government. We used to live in the school campus, which was fantastic because I grew up with all kinds of free school facilities. So spend more time playing than studying. Cool. And it was a normal, very middle class upbringing. So from there I went on to do my accountancy. I got into
anything. So going back young, any culminating moments, kind of, and for accountancy, is that college for you, or is that high school?
That was post college. Yeah.
Okay. So what's like anything growing up that you think back, formation of who you are now?
Absolutely. So I was in grade 9.
Yeah.
When I got incredibly sick. And it was an undetected, undiagnosed disease. Till date, we don't know what happened.
Okay.
And I used to get very, very severe stomachache, and it was so severe that I had to be hospitalized. And that, it used to happen, and you last about
24. About 15 years old.
Yeah, and it used to last about 24 hours.
Okay.
And then it would go away. I could go to the hospital, get some steroid shots, it'll go away. And then it'll come back again randomly 30 days later.
Wow.
24
So
days
like just
later.
either pain,
Just
nausea?
severe pain.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
unbearable pain. I had to be literally hospitalized within an hour because it was just unbearable, as if I'm going to die. And I think we, as I said, we still don't know what really transpired, what happened, because it eventually went away. But it was quite defining, because prior to that, I believe I wasn't a serious student.
Oh, okay.
Put it this way.
Yeah, okay.
Right? I would spend too much time playing.
Yeah.
I would, I wasn't really studying hard. I was a very average kid in school, average in literally everything.
Yeah.
And that disease made me disciplined.
Wow. Okay.
Because I suddenly came to a realization by virtue of the universe that I'm going to have limited time in between these, what we used to call as attacks, pain attacks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have very limited
How long
time.
did that last? Like kind of that?
About a year.
Oh, wow.
About a year.
So at some point, I feel like you were like, this isn't going to go away.
Oh,
And it may kill me, I guess, or
I
something.
think my parents were definitely prepared for that.
Yeah. Wow.
They were doing everything, like,
Sure.
We'd reached a stage of even going to black magic, and we're also going into, me wearing various types of stones and going to various temples, and my mother kind of starting to do all kind of weird things. And it was a really, really hard moment for us as a family. On top of that, there wasn't a concept of health insurance, and not that medical was quite expensive, but it was a very big financial drain on my parents. So it just created an absolute chaos. It just put the whole family upside down. My sister, who was a year older, was just a year older. She was only like, I was 14, she was 15,
Yeah.
but she had to do a lot of heavy lifting for,
Wow, yeah.
with my parents being totally focused on me, etc. So it was quite chaotic.
Interesting.
But, and I think we were all kind of prepared that I may never recover. And in fact, this could take my life. But it's and I think I was still young enough not to get too sucked into that feeling, or fortunately not to get into depression.
Right.
But what it did quite positively for me was it showed me, or it just created this value of time.
Yeah. Wow.
And value of urgency, and value of not utilization of the time that you have when you're healthy. And that was transformational, because even though I was not healthy, my grades went up. So I had the best grades I'd ever had in my life in grade 9, when I actually hardly went to school.
Wow.
Because I maximized the time that I was there. I started playing soccer, and I became the best I was at soccer that I'd ever been before. So it just made me from a very non-serious individual to someone who started started respecting time, started being more disciplined. And I think that helped me throughout my career. So as it was a blessing in disguise. How I got fixed, of course, we don't know, because I was going through multiple treatments. Till now, nobody knows which treatment worked. But it worked. I'm still here, for 35 years later. I'm just sitting in front of you. But yeah, I believe that was quite a defining moment in life for me.
Wow, I think the value, I tell my kids, time is our most valuable thing. And I think that it's hard to give a kid or anybody an event, or like tell them that's that important. You have to experience it like you to then gain that wisdom, I think. And it's like, I don't wish that on, 2 kids, 3 kids. I don't wish that on them, but, how do you get them, it's just the suffering or something to then have that realization, like, do it now, go, execute.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I lived up to that belief system that time is the most precious thing in our lives, and it's the only thing that we can't bring back, right? So it's the only thing that has a constant depreciation value to it.
Indeed. Wow.
And you just have to make the best of it.
Okay, so that kind of seems like that was a tipping point in a way. High school, and then kind of finished out high school focused, and then going into your accountancy. So, or like maybe going into college, I guess, or your equivalent.
Yeah. So it kind of happened. So what happened is it's really funny. So I got into grade 10. Grade 10 in India is quite critical. Okay. Right. This is where we call them the board examination. Right. That defines the stream of education you're going to take. Medical or accountancy or management or whatever for the high school, and then it kind of starts to shape your career, and that's how it was in my time. Very rigid. Nowadays, of course, children have more options. So grade 10 was quite important, and it's something really interesting happened, and that is my father one day. We were very middle class family. And my father one day said that, well, we've been invited for dinner to one of the fanciest restaurants in Delhi. It was the first ever revolving restaurant in India. Cool. I'd never seen a revolving restaurant before, never even heard about it. So we were like, oh my God, we've been invited. Dad said it's it's a friend of his that he knows, and he's invited the whole family. And I went there. Now I'm in grade 10, studying for these board exams, and then that's the first point of decision you need to make, what course of action, course of study you want to take. So this person was fascinating. I met him. I got highly influenced by him. He's talking to me about, what do you want to do in life, etc. I have no idea. But I asked him, what does he do? And he said he's a CFO of this particular, one of the largest Indian companies. I said, oh, how do you become a CFO? He said, oh, I did my chartered accountancy. And bing, that's the day I was like, hey, I want to be a chartered accountant.
So it was that quick, like that realization?
It's very quick, and it stayed with me. And in fact, this connection to the story, I didn't make this connection until years later, because all I remember, and my teachers remember, that since they know, they've only heard about me saying I want to be a chartered accountant. And it wasn't until probably, probably my wife one day asked me, she's like, why did you do it? I'm like, I don't know. Why were you so sure you want to do this? I don't know. Let me think about it. I'm like, oh my God, it was that dinner. Wow. I was so influenced by this person. And I think that to me was quite, again, a very interesting factor that, when you're young, you can get so easily influenced. And I'm glad I at least got influenced by someone.
The right way.
The right way. But that took me into the direction that I want to do accounting. So I did my grade 10. I had no question I want to take accounting as my career. Did that in high school. And just then, as I was passing my high school, a new announcement came out that in India you could only do accounting after your university. But now they came up with this new system that you can do it alongside your university as long as you can pass the entrance examination, which kind of fast tracks your acceptance.
Right.
So I got highly determined by that, and I said, this is exactly what I want to do. And if I want to do that, I don't need to wait for 6 years. I might as well bring it forward. So and that's how it started. And I just got into it and started my both 2 degrees in parallel.
Yeah. And so, all right. So did that feel good of just kind of like, sounds like that's what you did. You're doing 2 degrees in parallel, a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of math, a lot of like that. That's, I was a history major in college, so that's not my deal. So what drew you to that? With the math or accounting, like why? Aside from like, I see the opportunities that lie with this, but again, you at least have to enjoy it. You at least have to like it.
No, well, so the good thing about chartered accountancy was that it's a practical subject in India. So as soon as you get accepted, you start working as an apprentice in the real world. So I started doing auditing. So I really got drawn into being treated as an adult.
Yeah.
Right, and that was a very big drawing factor for me, because this is the first time that you're being treated as an adult in the room. You have a large amount of responsibility that's been set on you. And I must be, I want to be honest, I was never a brilliant student. I was actually a pretty average student. So I had to make up for all this extra pressure by working a lot harder and putting in more hours. So I think that was the drawing factor for me, was that I really need to succeed.
Yeah.
The second factor was failure was not an option. Because the problem of this particular course is that getting entry into it is easy, exiting is really hard. Because the pass percentage was only 2%.
Oh, wow.
It is one of the toughest examinations in India. So the problem is that if you don't clear, then you're a nobody. Because now you've got, like, literally, if you don't have that, you either have the degree or you don't have the degree. And the equivalent of chartered accountancy, I guess, in the US is the CPA.
Yeah.
But it's
sounds like it may be more difficult.
Very hard. It's really hard to get through, right? So
that's kind of what always, because I think in terms of war, of just my background, and it's something like you talked about, like you can't fail, and it's the same thing where it's like you never attack like a cornered enemy, because they know they're going to just fight like berserkers. And I feel like, and that's a way where you're like, I'm not going to fail. It's like you see the peril and it motivates you. And it sounds like that's kind of motivated you to excel and win and get it done.
Absolutely. I think that was a motivation. And it was also a very, very big learning because I didn't pass everything in the first attempt. I actually did fail in that process. But what was really, and I think these are the formative years of your value system and your life, and I was quite fortunate to go through this this strong foundation, where it helped me define failure.
Yeah.
When you say failure is not an option, it didn't mean that you were not allowed to fail. It meant you're not allowed to give up.
Yes, exactly.
Right, because you will fail. So and then the first time I failed, I was devastated because I'd never failed before.
Yeah.
And I went and I saw my result, and it had F.
Yeah.
This is in 94, 95. So you had to go to the institute, you had to find your name in the board. They're all stuck up, and you have to find your roll number, your name, and you're hoping to see a P or an F next to you, and I saw an F, and I was totally devastated.
Yeah.
But there was no option of giving up.
Yep. Yeah. So moving from there, obviously passed. First job of getting paid, I assume at this point, and then what was that? How old?
So I completed my accountancy in 1997.
Yeah.
And within a couple of months, I got a job in Oracle, in accounting and finance.
Yeah.
And it was it was kind of interesting.
Western company do different things than India and where you're from. Culture shock in a way, a difference, or there it was just already integrated. I'm just kind of.
I think it's the early days of India opening up.
Gotcha.
So it was only so I grew up in a very different India.
Okay.
I grew up in an India where there was no Coca-Cola. The first time I had Coca-Cola is when I was 22.
Oh wow.
Right. We had the Indian versions, but the only international brand that we had ever seen was Cadbury's.
Oh wow.
Nothing else. No Coke,
Wow.
no Pepsi, no potato chips. We had none of that, right? We grew up in a socialist India.
Yeah.
Right? It was a socialist democratic setup.
Yep.
It was a closed economy. So the economy only opened in about 1992. So I got into the workforce in 1998, and I think I was really fortunate to get into the workforce because now it was 6 years since India had opened up to the world for the first time, and you had just started to see the economic growth coming up.
Yeah.
So in fact, when I got an interview call with Oracle, I had no idea what Oracle does. So they called me, and the recruiter called me, and I had no idea, never heard of the company, and all I know is it does IT, computers.
Yeah.
You didn't even call it IT. I'm like, it does computers. What does it do in computers? I have no idea.
That's funny. Wow.
And then I started asking people who had a computer, do you know what Oracle does? And they said, oh, it's a database. I'm like, what does it mean?
Wow.
No idea. So I went into this interview so blank.
Wow.
And I until date, I'm so pleased that the person who was interviewing me didn't ask me two questions. The first is, what is a database? Because he said, have you heard of Oracle? Of course I know Oracle. What does it do? It's a database company. I'm glad he didn't ask me the third question because I had no idea. He said, what is a database? I'm like, I better walk out.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And the second thing I remember he asked me, he said, do you know Excel? Microsoft Excel. I said, yeah, of course. It's like, okay, can you do pivot tables? Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad he didn't ask me, what is a pivot table? I had no idea. So I had this interview, I got out of it, and I realized, I'm like, gosh, I have a degree, but I don't know anything.
Wow.
So
I feel like at least you had that realization. I feel like that's kind of like that beginner's mind, at least.
I was quite worried that if I get called for the second interview, I'll get exposed. So I don't think I'm talking about an epiphany here. This is
Yeah.
still very practical that
Okay.
I need to get this
That is
job.
funny. Wow.
And then I enrolled myself on the cheapest course I could find that would teach Excel.
Wow.
And I remember going to all these, these small little shops. It was all booming,
Yeah.
MS Microsoft training centers
Yeah.
in India.
Wow.
So I'm going in there and I'm asking two questions. How much do you charge? And can you teach me pivot table? I don't care about anything else.
Yep.
So I enrolled myself and I did a very quick, crash course.
Yeah.
And it so happened that I got called for the second interview, and I was able to get past it. They said, they didn't get into any technicalities, but at least I knew at the back of my mind now what is a pivot table and what is Excel.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting. Now I didn't hear back from them for about a month. I'm really getting really nervous because now I'm 23 and I need to get a job. And, you feel all my friends have a job,
Yeah.
especially those who went to jobs soon after their graduation. So I feel like a bit of a burden at home. And then I got a call from Oracle and they offered me the role. And I remember in my mind, I'm thinking, what salary would make me super happy.
Yeah.
And the salary that would make me incredibly happy and at par with my friends was $100 a month. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's what I had in mind. I was like, if I get $100 a month, I made it. I'm at par. So they spoke to me about all kind of fluff and
Yep.
and I'm like saying, okay,
Yeah.
get to the point. And when they got to the point, I was totally taken aback because they were paying me $400 a month.
Wow.
Now I'm suddenly become the highest paid individual in my friend circle, and I was so excited. There was no mobile phones back then, so
Wow. Yeah.
I left the office, came down. I used to have a motorbike. I found the nearest. We used to call them PCOs, where you could actually put a coin and call the local number. Called up my dad. And I told him, I said, hey, I got a job. And he said, congratulations. What is it? And how much are you getting paid? I said, it's $400. And the first thing my dad said, which idiot is paying you $400? You know nothing.
That's great. Sounds like my dad.
So that's how my Oracle journey started.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. That's so cool. I feel like there's so many things to pull out of that. Of like, you never know, man.
Yeah.
You just don't know what is in store for you, or how, or why, or that's just so fascinating. I love that.
You can none of it was planned. Like I think agility, mental agility.
Yeah.
Is
because I feel like you're also downplaying that you probably did an incredible job at the interview, and you showed up prepared and everything, and that's I think that's a good way of thinking. But also another thing comes to mind is like kind of like ask God for what you want, but expect something greater.
Absolutely.
And that kind of seems like that's what happened.
This is what happened, and the Oracle journey was started off with. It was really interesting because it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
Right. It was so boring.
But it got you paid.
It got me paid.
Yeah.
But I had this fascination, right, about I'm going to be in a technology company and I'm going to be doing all great work, but my job, realistically, was just the lowest grade accountant. and I was quite taken aback when I went there. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like doing very basic vouchers and payments and all that. And that was like exactly what you said, right? Is you you ask God for something, but you have no idea what's in store for you, and what God has planned or the universe has planned for you.
Yeah.
It was really, really fascinating because I was doing the most menial job in the company, which was accounts payables.
Yeah.
So, even in accounts payables, employee expenses.
Oh.
So all these amazing salespeople that you would see who are bringing business and they're traveling and they're jet setting and they're going overseas and all that would come and give me their bills. And I would look at their bills and I would tally them and create vouchers and create checks and then, get them signed and hand them over. So that's the job I did for about 8 months. Things, and that's when things turned around very quickly.
Yeah. So continue. So where did that next go? Because I feel like it starts there, and then, as we've said earlier, that starts there, and then you're ringing the bell.
Yeah.
The Nasdaq.
Yeah, it was all kind of connected.
Well, I think it has to be.
Yeah, it started off with that, and 8 months later, the most interesting thing happened. We had some very, very smart, very senior people who flew down from the US and spoke about amazing plans Oracle had for as a company. And part of that plan was that all the finance function that I was part of will be outsourced, consolidated. The term was shared services. So it'll be all put into shared services center. And I felt pretty happy. All of us felt quite happy because the entire world was now coming to India to create their back office. So now suddenly we said, okay, we were doing the small job in a small subsidiary of India, but now we could be the world's back office, and our scope is going to grow tremendously. So we're that day was a lot of high fives and celebrations until about 2 months later, the announcement was the back office will be in Sydney, not in India, which means all of us are going to lose our jobs.
Wow.
So now 10 months into my first job, I'm going to get retrenched. And that was very unexpected, to be honest. But then something interesting happened. And that was, again, how universe has its own amazing ways of, showing the path to you. I used to sit, my desk was, because I was the junior most person in the entire finance team, there was not enough space in the finance office. So I was put in with HR. Right. Yeah. And I always used to kind of feel like an outsider because I was kind of thrown in there because there was no space. And it so happened that the HR head, so I used to be right outside her office, somewhere around there. Yeah. One day, she just randomly was walking past at 7 p.m. and she asked me, she said, "Oh, have you applied for the job in Sydney?" And I'm like, "What job in Sydney?" She said, "Yeah, there's this whole announcement. The finance is going to get outsourced to Sydney, and they're looking for people from all over the world to set it up. And I think you should apply." And I was like, "Okay, I never even knew that something like this existed." So she said, "Oh, I'm just going to send you an email now. Work on your resume." She said, "You're here. If you don't need to go home early, just sit here, finalize your resume, send it to me right now." I'm like, "Okay."
Done.
And until now, she had never spoken to me. Because she was like super senior, and I'm like, there's nobody sitting in the corner. So I was surprised she even knew who I was. But apparently she did. And I did that and started the interview process. So I got called for an interview for that job. And the interview process went off in my favor. Yeah. And the next thing I know, literally in a month's time, I had this offer to move to Sydney, bag and baggage, relocate to Sydney, and be a part of this incredible implementation team now, which will now go around the world, understand the finance processes, and then set them up in Sydney. So from being this menial, and you know what got me the job? They couldn't find anybody who had the depth of knowledge on doing travel and entertainment expenses.
Wow.
And
Again.
that's the only role that was open. They had filled everything else. They found people for cash management, treasury, all those fancy things that I always wanted to do. The one they couldn't find was, is this someone who really has done this and really knows how expense management works?
Yeah. Wow.
And when I got interviewed, they were like, oh, perfect. And literally they made a decision in 1 month and they're like, would you like to move to Sydney? I'm like, sure.
You said 20, how old are you? 24?
24.
24, yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like was that no-brainer to like move, you're ready to travel, just go and kind of exit, because you were still close to family at that time?
I was still living with my parents.
Oh, okay. So
I'm still living with my parents, and I'd by now met my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, who's my current wife.
yes.
Neera, of course, you know Neera.
Yeah.
You've met her. So Neera and I had met in 1997.
Yep.
And this is happening in 1999. So I, of course, asked Neera.
Yeah.
So by now we are quite serious about each other. We're still young, but we're fairly serious. And asked her, I said, this is the opportunity. What do you think? She said, what do we have to lose? Just go there, figure it out. And if you don't like it, India's still doing well, come back. If you like it, it works, but just go ahead.
Yeah.
So that was it. I said yes, I moved. And
how was your, English? And again, just so I know, like, is English taught back then, or how was that prior to
English
Oracle?
English. So English is quite mainstream in India. All our studies are in English. Okay. So, but I was never good in spoken English.
I see.
I was okay in written English. Spoken English was because you don't get that much exposure.
Sure.
So it was really funny. So I my first time. Now by now, I have never sat in an airplane.
Oh wow!
In my life, I've seen airplanes. I've never sat in one. So the first time now, I'm being shipped to Sydney, and I need to get a passport. I got a ticket. And it's the first time I'm going to be sitting in an airplane.
Wow. So
the first thing I did is I asked some people who had been overseas. Nobody in my family had ever been overseas. How do you do it? So first I got coached on, you get your passport. There's something called a check-in. There's something called an immigration. Yeah, so I had it all written down in a piece of paper. So I'm like kind of following the process.
Yep.
And the first thing, like the vivid memory I have of the fascination, I got into the plane, is I fell asleep, I woke up, and I saw the ocean. And all I could see was the ocean. And I'd never seen sea. I'd never seen ocean until now. Right? I've been a Delhi boy, inlands, never seen the sea, never seen an ocean. So it's the first time I'm in an airplane, the first time I see the ocean, and it was just a fascinating, like that memory of mine is so fresh. I'm like, my God, it's so big.
Yeah.
This water body is so big. And then I landed, I checked into our service apartment that Oracle had arranged for me. And it was really funny, embarrassing and funny. Next day morning, Oracle had given instructions. Next to the service apartment, there is a pickup point. A shuttle bus starts from there, brings everybody to the Oracle office. And that's like a routine shuttle because this is next to a train station.
Yep.
So I get ready, I get into the elevator, and there's this very helpful, wonderful housekeeping staff who's in the lift, and she just says, "Good morning, sir. How you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to take the shuttle bus. Thank you." And and I got there and I met I met some of the other people, and I was like, these Australians are so nice and their systems are so amazing. Like this housekeeping girl actually knew that I'm here for the first time and I'm working for Oracle, and she's concerned how am I going to get to work, because she actually asked me how was I going, and then we're like, no, actually that's not what she meant. she actually meant, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, okay. So I need to learn Australian.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was funny. And then I reached my office and my new boss came down. He's like this big Australian bloke, comes in. It's like, good morning, mate. How you going? And I'm like, I am doing okay. Now I know how to answer this. Oh, it's amazing, amazing.
So I feel like that, I feel like the, being naive in some ways is like beautiful because you have these crystallized memories that are, authentic, like being on the plane, first time and seeing those things. And I think back to like, how do I, raise, he's probably used to like my kids in the same way because they have more affluence now. To how do I make sure that they have those same experiences? Because I have those too in my memory where it's like a grit and it's difficult and like I don't want them suffering, but also there has to be some balance to it of I can't give them everything, and yeah, it's interesting balance.
It is, and I think about that quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
I think like every generation makes life for the next generation easier.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We don't want suffering, but we do want figuring.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Right? They need to figure some things out.
Yeah.
So it's a tough balance, and especially we want to give everything to our kids. We want to give them all kinds of amenities and comforts that we can afford, but at the same time, provide that figuring. And in fact, one of the things that I'm planning to do is planning to take my kids. So I currently sit on a board of a charity called the Australian Federation for Children with AIDS, and we work with children with who've been affected by AIDS, not necessarily. They're not necessarily ill, but in most cases, their parents have passed away or are very seriously ill. So we help these children in making sure that they have all the facilities that they need, and mostly work with the grandparents and the caretakers of these children, and making them self-sufficient. So we do tours to Africa. 2-week tours where you go and volunteer with them, and at the same time you go and see the country. But the idea is for 2 weeks you live with these communities, you volunteer, you provide them your skills, and so I'm planning to take Sahana, my elder one, this time, because I do want her to see what the other side of the world looks like, and how fortunate we all are by being not only have the means, but also being healthy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so a little tangent, but that's what we do. So you're at Oracle still, and we're getting closer to present date. And so Australia, and however you'd like to go, kind of summarize or maybe pick up on some culminating, interesting ties, because it already seems like each point it's like a stepping stone to kind of get to where you are. But I guess we're from Oracle, and then I don't know if you went to American Express after that, and then it sounds like a building blocks to each one. You gain more responsibility, you gain more, you're not just an accountant anymore. So if you would kind of riff from there.
Yeah, that connection was actually simpler than what it sounds, and that was everything came back to my first 8 months of travel and entertainment vouchers. It all came down to that, because at Oracle, I became an expert in the travel and entertainment software. So I helped them develop. So I moved from consulting, product development, was a core part of the team that is managing that process globally. And in this process, we were working very closely with American Express. So this project got over, and now I had a choice to make. I either want to go back into accounting, or I want to go into core technology or product development. And I didn't find either of them very fascinating as the American Express opportunity came up. And they said, look, and this came up because of the existing relationships, and I'd been working with them. So they came to me and they said, this work for the last 4 years that you've done for Oracle is a work we want to do with all our clients. And we want to help them. So we are setting up a consulting organization. Would you like to come and work as a consultant?
Yeah.
And part of our consulting team. So I'm like, yeah, that's really fascinating because I really enjoyed these 4 years. So I want to do that. So that's what got me to American Express. And I was in Sydney. I was running consulting. Then I had the privilege to lead it for Asia Pacific. And this is where I was now stepping into senior management. Mm-hmm. And then I always had this fascination of sales because this entire time I was very close to the sales team. I was actually part of the sales organization, reporting into the sales organization, but still had my independence of running it as a consulting operation. But it was I was always fascinated by sales. So I put my hand up and I said, I want to get the next sales role that I can get. And that role came up in Hong Kong. So American Express moved me to Hong Kong, bang in the middle of the GFC, global financial crisis. Yeah. It was really bad time. And it was great to be in a place like Hong Kong, which was really badly hit. It was one of the worst hit because it's a financial hub. Yeah. So that was where my sales journey started. So I was there for a couple of years. Then I moved back to Singapore. So I had a fascinating time in Hong Kong. I had some of the biggest successes. I won some of the biggest deals of my life.
Would you say that, again, those sound like hard times, but it sounds like you excelled in that?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And I think this is where the consulting background became really valuable in sales. Yeah. Because this is the time that companies were really struggling. So to come in and bring in a different perspective, a very consultative perspective, was very helpful.
So kind of shifting from like financial numbers to more like people? Is that what you say?
Very much so. Okay. Very much so. Very much shifting into people, shifting into policy. Still within the American Express, I'm still doing corporate cards, and I'm still doing travel and entertainment expenses, but now being able to demonstrate the value of that, demonstrate the value of policy, process design, savings you can drive from it, helping people take away the liability factors, which had suddenly become a big thing after global financial crisis. Who holds the liability? Is it the employees? Because it was quite one of the big challenges companies had during global financial crisis was, if you look at Lehman Brothers, for example, which went bust, the liability of their corporate expenses were actually sitting with the employees. Wow. So the company went bust overnight. Sure, we all know that, but very few of us really knew that there are individuals who could be sitting with $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 travel bills that they spend on behalf of the company, which is now there's nobody to reimburse them. Wow. It's now sitting with them.
Wow. Yeah.
So all that managing a lot of that was quite fascinating, and that helped me close some really large deals, big enough that I got promoted to be the Asia Pacific head of multinational sales at American Express within 18 months and moved to Singapore. And this is how the Singapore journey started.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Neera's been traveling with you the whole time?
She's been traveling throughout.
Yeah.
Of course, the parts that I skipped within Oracle was we also lived in Taipei. Yeah. We lived in Tokyo. We lived in Beijing. Yeah. Wow. So we had we had this opportunity of being placed and living in different countries. Yeah. And then it was Hong Kong, and now back in Singapore. So it was great. And then from Singapore, fast forward, I got an opportunity at Visa to lead their Southeast Asia team for corporate cards again. Yep. I did that for 4 years, and that's when the startup bug bit me. Yeah.
And so kind of then, I guess we'll fast forward to that point of like how that happened. So MoneyHero, where are you then MoneyHero, go?
So it just happened, partially accidental, partially,
Yeah.
it's your manifestation.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to get a bit, let's say, bored of the corporate
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it now?
A long time now,
Yeah. 20?
call it close to 20 years.
Okay.
So close to 20 years, I'm in a senior position, and you could call it a bit foolish as well. And the foolishness was that I thought I was overpaid and underworked. And stupidly, I thought that was a problem.
That little ego going there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I used to see my paycheck every month, and I said, I don't think I deserve it. So it's you could, maybe it's part of imposter syndrome as well, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe part of insecurity, maybe part of ego. I don't know. I'm not, you're more of a philosopher
Something
than
like
I
that,
am,
yeah.
but it's somewhere in between, right? There's a whole mix of emotions where I'm saying I don't think I'm doing justice to my work, or and I want to do something different. I want to do something where I can make a meaningful impact.
Right.
Because at the same time, I'm also realizing that in all these large organizations, I have a great resume and I can talk about what a great work I've done. But in the larger scheme of things, do I matter?
Well, I feel like you're seeking some fulfillment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I spoke to someone within Visa. He was a very senior person who used to mentor me. And I asked him something. I said, I'm going through all these thoughts about, starting something, owning something versus this. And he told me something really good. He said, you know what? A lot of us go through this, Shant, a lot of us. He said, a lot of us think we are greater than what we are. A lot of people in corporate think that people in the management don't know what they're doing. If I was there, I would have done it this way. We all have a lot of opinions. We all know that we all feel that we are better than what we truly are. He said, what a startup experience will do is it will bring out the truth. Are you really good at what you think, you say you are? Because suddenly you are now going to have the brand backing you up. You don't have an American Express brand, an Oracle brand, or a Visa brand. None of that is going to open doors. And you will start realizing that how much of your success was built upon you versus how much of your success was supported by the brand that these companies have built over years. Yeah. So he said, you want to know the truth? Are you seeking for truth about your own self? Go do it. If you're not seeking for truth and you want a good life and you're happy with the life you have, stay.
Yeah.
But he said seeking is always hard. Seeking will come with compromises. Yeah. Status quo is easy.
Yeah.
So, but he said there's no judgment. So I'm not, nobody's going to judge you.
Did that drive you to that?
It drove me.
Okay.
That's the single conversation that drove me towards saying, I want to go down the path of seeking.
Yeah.
Neera was not very happy because by now we had my first daughter, Sahana, who was 1 year old, and we are not young parents. I was 40 already. So she's like, you're 40, we just had a child, right? So we are definitely not young parents. Life is good. Why do you want to, and it's okay whatever you want to do with your life. Why are you doing this to us? That, now we're going to have to cut back on expenses. Now we're going to have, this whole uncertainty, downgrades from business class to budget airlines. No more Marriotts. Now you need to get back into, there was no, I didn't think we had even Airbnb. Maybe we did, but, downgrading yourself to she's like, why do we want to do this?
Yeah.
Why don't you just get a Harley Davidson, just go make a trip, 1 month long trip to US, get it all out of your system. But I really wanted to do it. And when once I think she realized that this was serious, this was about my inner self, it's about my own confidence. It's for me that I really need to do it. Then she was all supportive.
Cool.
And that's when MoneyHero started. So we packed our bags and we moved back to Hong Kong. Lower pay,
Yeah.
higher expenses, because more expensive place.
Yeah.
And now we have a child.
Yeah.
So we're like, everything is going, everything that can be. Yeah, I made life really hard for us.
Well, I mean, I feel like you sought off or kind of putting yourself into a corner, giving yourself, you're still seeking. Yeah, it's like you put yourself there again to test your truth, this test if you're good enough, like, and seeking that success again in a different way. And now, with your, like, you have skin in the game.
Exactly. And putting myself back in the situation where failure is not an option.
Yeah.
So it was literally that circle all the way back, because by now, I think in my world, I was being seen as an expert and I was too comfortable. And I wasn't failing enough.
Yeah.
Right? It was all coming too easy. And I felt that if I'm not failing means I'm not pushing.
Agreed. I feel like that's the continuum of life and of doing that. All right, so you get to MoneyHero. Anything good? I mean, up until the point of ringing the bell, I mean, I've got some questions I kind of ask you later of you starting off at a different role. I'm forgetting which one, and then ultimately getting to CEO. But it's like, what were some spots there that you think are interesting to share?
So many. First of all, I realized that the first hit of reality was how hard it was to build a business.
Yeah.
How difficult it is, because nobody believed in you. Your clients didn't believe in you.
Yeah.
People that you want to hire don't believe in you. People you work with don't believe in you. And
so it's like you have no brand backing you. It's just like you out alone and afraid.
No, but there is the brand backing I was prepared for.
Okay.
Well, because I knew I don't have that. But I think I relied on my personal brand, which I realized had eroded with the corporate brand. So now you're calling the same people who would want to go out on every Friday night with you, who just now. So the first, let me tell you the story, right? The first hit of realization of reality is a very, very close back then friend of mine who's in a senior position, in a decision-making position in a bank. So, and I said, you know what, easy starting point. I'm going to call him. Knew that I'm moving. Obviously, I kept them informed. I get into the new job, give him a call, and said, mate, I want to come and pitch my idea to you and see if we can work together. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I'll send you some dates that work. I'm like, great. He sent me dates, which was 7 weeks away. 7 weeks away. And that's the first hit of realization I had, is that in my mind, I had picked up the phone and called him, because we are close enough that I don't need time from him.
Yeah.
I can just call him and say, mate, I want to talk to you. And I was prepared that he's going to say, yeah, let's talk about it now. And he said, let's set something up formally, and let's set a time so we can talk about it. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. All right. My next availability is bang. And I looked at it and I said, is that for real? And that's when I realized, I said, this is going to be harder. This is going to be really tough. So that was hard enough. The second thing that I was completely unprepared for is, how do you build a culture? Because all these companies that I worked for, they had a culture. I never had to think about it. I was never senior enough. I was never had that pay grade where define a culture for American Express. I mean, it's a 150-year-old company. Nobody's asking Prashant to define the culture. Or Visa, which is one of the most profitable companies in the world, or Oracle that is built by the great Larry Ellison, Larry is not coming to Prashant to ask him,
Right.
Prashant, what do you think about the culture? And now suddenly I've got all these people. I'm like, so I started off here. So I didn't start off as a CEO, as you rightly mentioned. I started off as the chief revenue officer or the chief commercial officer. And the two of my other co-founders, one of them was a CEO, one of them was a CFO.
Well, sorry to back up a little bit. It's like, how many people did this start with? Like,
So we were actually very, very fortunate.
Okay.
That is, we raised a very large funding purely on the idea. This is those days.
Yeah.
Those days don't exist anymore. Nobody is going to give that kind of
and
funding.
what year is this?
This is 2015.
Okay.
And so we raised $40 million in Series A funding.
Wow. Impressive.
Right. And that's literally based on a simple WordPress
Well done.
website.
Yeah.
So we were quite fortunate that when we started with some backup.
Yep.
Right. And that's the cushioning, quite honestly, that I also had to take that leap at the age of 40. So I wasn't really going from everything to zero.
Yeah, it was like a calculated risk.
It was a very calculated risk. I was still an accountant at heart, and it was a fortunate position. So we put together a team, and it was a well funded operation from very beginning. So we had no revenue to show, but we were able to hire people. We were able to not pay them a lot of money, but of course build a team very quickly. So the first thing we did was build a team of about 100 people, right? Technology, sales, etc., the product, the whole gambit. And then we, at the same time, because we had raised such a large amount of funding, we also started 7 markets concurrently, which became a nightmare.
Wow.
Which was really, really hard because the mistake was that we hadn't proven ourselves even in a single market, and now we have to manage 7 different markets, 7 different geographies, 7 different regulators, all at the same time while trying to prove a business model. So it was just hitting us from everywhere. Raising money too quickly became a bad thing because investors expect results.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't have a product market fit. We haven't proven ourselves. We don't have revenues to show. So it was chaotic.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be the revenue guy. So yeah, there was a lot of pressure in the first year.
Interesting. So if you could fast forward to CEO, you become the CEO, and then that was before you went public.
Yep.
And so, how did that process work of becoming CEO? Maybe why? Good story in there if there's one, and then we'll get to the
It was it was a hard one. So the company went through various, like every startup, right? The story is not in the success, right? The story is behind the scene, the process that you go through. So we did really well. Of course, we started off slow. Then we really caught on.
Yep.
We did a very massive Series B. We had great investors. We had IFC World Bank, Goldman Sachs, Pacific Century Group, Alibaba. So we had really strong investor group, and everything was fine, except that when you raise a lot of money, you also have an expectation of a very, very strong delivery. And then came 2021. So 2020, the COVID was really helpful, actually. COVID is the time that we really took off because the markets, everybody moved from physical economy to digital economy. That was a great push for us, great blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
But then in 2021 is the first time investors brought up IPO. And we went through that process. But the problem was that our revenues were not growing now as fast as what they would expect. And they said we need the revenue number to be at least at 100 million. And right now we're sitting at about 60. So we needed to get the revenues up very, very quickly. And the conversations went really far, very deep. and we realized this is going to happen. We're going to raise another big round. So we started spending, or we were expected to drive that revenue by spending a significant amount of money. Also, our IPO process is very expensive. So now you need compliance, very expensive compliance team, auditing, audit expenses, etc. Yeah. So our expenses were going up faster than our profits. And then came the big interest rate hike out of the US, and the capital markets just collapsed. I don't know if you remember, this is February, March of 2022.
Yep.
The Max 7 collapsed 40% in value, and nobody in our generation knew how to maneuver a high interest rate market, and that's when the investors backed out, and they said we can't go ahead with this IPO anymore, and we were left with a very, very deep hole in our balance sheet. So this is the time that I took over as a CEO. We had a few management changes, and we were in a pretty difficult situation actually, Blake, at this time. We had only 2 months of payroll left, and I had 650 people in the payroll. So, but now I was the president by now, so I'd been elevated from CCO to a president, and the CEO was a fantastic guy who brought us really, really well. He decided to step down, move on, and the investors came up with two options. They said, look, one option is we wind down the entire operation because now we are running an annual loss of 26 million on a revenue of about 65, 70 million. So it was a very big hole. And so they said, we can't afford to continue funding 26, 30 million. So one option is that we give you a $10 million check, and you can turn the company break even within 6 months. If that is possible, then we get a call option. We give you another 15 million, and we keep the company alive. Otherwise, if you say you can't do it, let's wind it down. If you say you can do it and you're unable to do it, we wind it down at the end of the year, right? But you take full moral, emotional responsibility for that failure.
Yeah.
Now, I had been in the business long enough to know that I can do it.
Yeah.
The numbers would show that, we are able to turn it around.
How much numbers and how much intuition or your gut?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Because when you've been in the business, when you've been there from scratch, when you've built it, like every piece of it, and you've been through these processes, and from friends not calling you, not giving you time for 7 weeks, to now being on Bloomberg and CNBC, so you've built your credibility, and right. I think it was a mix of intuition. It was a mix of intuition. It is a mix of numbers, and it is a mix of your trust in the team that you have built.
Yeah.
Right, and their ability to execute. So bringing these three things together, I said, yeah, we can do this. So we got a $10 million check. We got a lifeline. This was the toughest moment of my entire career, and that was, now I had to downsize the company from 650 down to 300, and this was a very, very difficult, emotionally.
Yeah.
Very difficult time, because until now the company, so think about the people, right? Until now they don't know the IPO's failed. So they're all thinking we're going IPO. They're all thinking we're going to get a big paycheck for all the work that we've put in for the last 7, 8 years, 10 years. And I'm going to have to tell them that we were actually close to bankruptcy. We've gotten this lifeline, and 50+% of you are not going to have a job tomorrow. So that was really tough. But that's a decision that I had to make.
Yeah.
And had to execute very quickly. We did that, turned the company break even in 6 months, while growing the top line revenue.
Yeah.
And then the same investors who said, well, we've got a call option of putting in 10 to 15 million, saying, well, looks like now you're back to the path of an IPO. So the markets have started to improve a little bit.
Yeah.
The markets were still not great, but they're starting to improve. And they said, well, we could do the IPO again. And that's when the IPO conversation started again. And a year later, we were in Nasdaq as a listed company.
Wow. Interesting. So I have a couple questions kind of on, it's funny that we already kind of talked about it where, it was some question basically, to ring the bell, is it worth the hype? Is it like, and it sounds like, and the question was that I was kind of trying to ask of like, because I think a lot of people maybe sell their soul to do that, give up everything to make a bunch of money and IPO. How do you view that?
I think if I tell you the story, right, of the day I had to ring the bell. So we're in New York, and I was really, really nervous that day.
Yeah.
Very nervous, right? And I'm nervous because I have to say the speech on the Nasdaq floor. And this is the same place where, you've had Larry Page, Larry Ellison, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. These people have been on the same stage, make a speech of bringing their company public. So I'm like, this is going to be the biggest, most important speech of my life. It'll be recorded forever, right? My kids, my great-grandkids.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck it up. What if and for some reason, I won't name the country because it'll be disrespectful. I don't want them to know. But there's by now we had 6 countries. One of my countries that every time I'm rehearsing my speech, I'm just missing them for no reason. And they're a big contributor.
Yeah.
And I'm just missing their name. So I'm like, gosh, what if I just forget to announce? And all these guys there's going to be night. Yeah, it's going to be like 9:30 in the evening in Asia. So all my markets they're all in the office, and they've got these live screens, and there's champagne and party, and they're all waiting for Prashant's opening speech and the ringing of the bell. My closest management team is with me in New York. Yeah. I'm like, gosh, what if I stumble? There, oh gosh, this is going to be so messy. So I decided to walk. I said, I had a 15-minute walk to Times Square. So I said, let me just walk so I can get this adrenaline, just get it out of the system and also rehearse. So I'm very distracted. I go in. As soon as I go in, champagnes, and suddenly you're the star, and people want to talk to you, take pictures, and everything is cool. Then I got called in while the morning party is going on. Okay. So champagne at 7 a.m. So and then I got asked, it's time for you to come to the backstage because we're going to tell you the process. The first thing I realized when I went to the Nasdaq floor is how small it was. Like, this is this larger than life vision you have, and you go in and it's a tiny studio. It's about 500 square feet studio.
Yeah.
And the first thing that came to my mind when I walked in there is this is about the same size as the house I grew up in.
Wow.
So until all my school and my university and my accounting days, we used to live in a very small 2-room, 500 square feet apartment with my parents. And so I'm like, this is about the same size. So, rang the bell, did the process. I fortunately didn't forget the country. I named them, and we had all the celebrations, etc. And then I walked out. They then take you out, everybody, and then you take pictures on Times Square. So everything is clockwork, right? So they blocked this whole area, the security. So it was kind of cool, right? You're kind of all being, you're the star walking on the red carpet into Times Square. There's tourists who are taking your pictures, not knowing who you are. But then I'm doing some media interviews, and I saw Neera in front of me. And I saw that she was tearing up. So she was crying. So I just stopped the interview. Like I just finished whatever I was doing, and I just walked up to her to say, "Are you okay?" And she just pointed to the Nasdaq tower on Times Square. And there was a massive life-size picture of Neera and I. And she said, "Did you ever imagine we would reach here?" And then, we both kind of soaked in that moment. And that's when the realization for me came that starting from doing those travel and entertainment things, starting from, grade 9, getting sick, meeting this person, wanting to do accounting, and the whole thing just started to spring back. And it's saying that our vision, right, our potential often surpasses our vision. So I never even had this vision. I never even knew this was my goal in life, or I want to do this one day, right? So maybe I personally admit I never really thought that big. I always said life is, keep it as it comes. So that was a very amazing moment. And I think the story that people don't often talk about when they talk about the success is that success is not about the learnings that you have in the boardrooms or the learnings that you have with the large clients. Most of it is learnings of just being human, right? And how you can make your decisions, how you make your life decisions, how you progress by simply being human before being a CEO. And that was the moment.
I was going to ask how you kind of already got it, and that's why I love your name. I know it's maybe not when I heard your name first, Prashant, I think of prescient. And then my favorite book is Dune. And they always talk about this prescience that you have and all these things. And I just, and I feel like I have, I don't believe that you need an umbilical to be attached to nobody because we're all connected. And I was just kind of, before you started describing your scenario, and I was just in my mind, I was thinking kind of like, what is that? How does it circle back? And you described it before I even had the chance to ask it. And I just always, that was, what an incredible synchronicity. And even in the whole situation, this kind of like, you weren't looking for that in a way, as you described, and it's just kind of like it happened. You have this almost like this realization when the two of you are standing there. I can just visualizing it, and how it's about like, there you are with this person that supported and helped you, and that's really what it's about, like that humanity, that connection, and that love. So that's beautiful.
I think that was an amazing moment. And to your question around, was this where you feel you've achieved? Like, how do you feel doing that? So once this whole clock, this whole clockwork, this thing gets over, you've been through your emotion, you've been through your circle of life. It's also a realization I had that back to the same realization I had at Visa when I was quitting corporate world, right? To say that, what's missing for me is, this is where I realized that I've come to an end of this journey. And I think my journey has to continue, the journey has to continue, but I need to now seek different things.
Yeah.
Because my vision was again getting restricted. So while I see, oh, this was never my vision and I've reached here, but now
Yeah.
this was the vision for the last 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Sure, it wasn't 20 years ago, but 3 or 4 years I've been thinking about IPO and Nasdaq and all that. And now it's like my vision's come to an end.
Yeah.
And I need a new vision. I need a new purpose.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided that, soon after this journey, I will be exiting
Yeah.
and, starting the path of seeking all over again.
How did Bali play into that?
Oh, Bali was incredible
Had you been to Bali before?
many times,
Okay.
but never with an intention of I could live here. Always with a very touristy, a weekend away from Singapore,
Sure.
and Bali came about because I think I needed. So one of the challenges you have in large cities, when you're living in Singapore, Hong Kong, San Francisco. I lived in Sydney, Delhi, Singapore, Hong Kong,
Yeah.
Taipei, Tokyo, Beijing, all the same, is people will always ask you what's next. So when I announced my exit, the most common question I got was, what are you building next? And I wanted to be in a place where I can change that narrative, where I don't need to answer that narrative, and I wanted to answer different question. And the question I wanted to answer is, whatever you're going to do next, is it worth doing? So Bali was a change of scene. It's the first time I'm in 9 countries that Neera and I have lived in. First time where we made a decision that we are moving to this country. Until now, the decisions were made for us.
Yeah.
Right? Go back to the Oracle days where I was told the only way to keep your job is to move to Sydney.
Yeah.
Otherwise, otherwise you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And that kind of continued, right?
Yeah.
Whether it was there or whether it was Hong Kong or Singapore, they were all opportunities,
Yep.
chasing opportunities. It's the first time the world was open, and I didn't think much. I just said, Bali sounds good, and I just want to be in a place where I can meet people who are not gonna judge me for my business card, who are not going to be asking me about the stock market, who are not going to be asking me about how to raise funds, but we could just talk about aspects of life.
Bro, come on my podcast.
There you go. Right. I mean, things that just don't,
Yeah.
that are new to me, that'll give me new learnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how Bali came.
Interesting. All right. So we're present day now, and it's good. This is good. This is a good one. Man, so much good stuff. Thank you for sharing everything, bro. Thank you. Anything else we missed we should cover, or anything in there?
Yeah.
I mean, anything good? If you had to pick out one good story from about 30 years or so timeline, anything we missed?
I don't think we've missed anything on the timeline.
All right.
But the Bali life is.
So yeah, how have you? Is it what you thought? Like kind of like this is it? Like you're here and like okay, this is what I'm.
No.
No. Okay, well maybe that's the point then. Maybe I don't know.
I think before moving here, I was romanticizing Bali, and I feel a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I'm going to come here. I'm going to find the purpose of my life. I'm going to find all the answers to, what gives me genuine satisfaction and fulfillment. And the first, I would say 6-8 months, I got nothing of it, and I felt this is nothing but a change of location. Until until I thought I did. And what really helped me is I did something very, very unusual, and that was there's a very old. So I'm a Hindu, and Hinduism has two epics, two books
Yep.
that define our culture. It's not really, because it's Hinduism is not a religion, so it's not a book of do's and don'ts. It's just a book of which guides you.
Yeah.
And one of them is the Ramayana, and one is Mahabharata. So Ramayana was written about 12,000 years ago, and I decided to read the original version in Hindi, which I could barely remember because I haven't studied. Last time I did anything in Hindi was in grade 10.
Wow.
And since then, of course, I'm Indian, so I would read it very here and there, but no, not on a daily basis or not on a regular basis. So I decided to read this monster books, and that has been a fascinating experience. By reading the original form, because we hear a lot about the television forms, the
Sure.
media forms, etc. But reading them in the original form, and more also from the lens of leadership, because I do leadership coaching now. I train leaders in corporates. And I wanted to, it honestly started off with saying, can I get a brand new philosophical material that can strengthen, polish, further refine my leadership philosophies and potential by going back into, just seeking differently. And I think this, going through these books, going through that stories has been a fascinating experience.
And that goes into my next question is, how do you define, or think of your philosophical operating system?
I think the way I define my philosophical operating system is now highly influenced also by the readings that I've done.
Yeah.
Is the idea of karma, right? Which I find really interesting. So growing up, I always thought karma is yin and yang. It's a balancing thing, right? You do good, good happens to you. You do bad, bad happens to you. But I found a very different lens to it, because that's not necessarily what you see in practical life, right? We've got some very, very influential people in the world right now doing some really bad things, but they don't seem to be suffering.
Yeah.
So not making this into a political debate.
I don't think you have to anymore. But because it's,
But it's so what I found very fascinating about karma is that there is a concept which says that what karma helps you do is not ask why me, but ask what can I do about it now. And making your decisions, the strength you can get to make your decisions not based on what is right or wrong towards you. So justice or injustice. A simple example being you've been retrenched and you feel that it's unjust because you've given years of service to this company and you've been honest and you've been earnest and, and now suddenly you've been retrenched. It feels like an unjust thing. But what my philosophy has helped me achieve now is justice or injustice has to be defined by what is the larger impact it is having on a group of people, not just you. So if you feel that you've been treated unjustly And that will be bad for the society. The result of the injustice that has happened to you, or what you feel is unjust towards you, is going to have a bad outcome for the society. You must fight it. But if it has a better outcome for the society, or for a society in large, then you have to accept it. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's unfair. But you have to accept it, and you have to think about what next. So when I think about having to, and this is the philosophy that helped me get through the reduction of my workforce from 650 to 300, because I was going into depression. I had to let go of people who had built this from me, who were there with me from day one, who were very loyal, very committed.
Yeah.
And I have to let go of them, and you feel you're betraying them, because until now you've been telling them all the great stories and giving them this vision and picture about how well we are doing, and suddenly you're going to tell them you're not going to be a part of this journey anymore. And of course, I felt even, you feel about them and you're ringing the bell in Nasdaq that these people deserve to be standing next to me, and they're not.
Yeah.
But the only thing that gave me solace and strength at that point was that what I'm doing is that going to make the rest of the people, a larger group of people, not only people who are working for me, but my clients, my users, the 10 million people who rely on our guidance to make financial decisions, is there's 350 lost jobs. Is it going to make that society better, or is that going to make that society worse? And I think the answer was it's going to make that society better. So yes, it's unjust. Yes, it's painful, but that's the new definition of karma for me. And that's what I built in my operating system that helps me make not only decisions, but also accept some things that you don't necessarily believe you deserve.
Well, I think in terms of masculinity, and that it's like for your family, like you're the bulwark, you suffer, deal with it, and that's kind of in a way the protector in a way is like you have to just suck it up sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't say it. There's nothing you can say or do, because it's kind of just maybe whining or complaining, and that's like, I don't know, in a way it's like the duty that you're doing that, where it's like, because you could get in the weeds because it's like an injustice every moment, and you just get sucked into that cycle and you'd waste all your time.
Absolutely, and this is the core of the Ramayana, where Ram hours. It was the central character. Just hours before his coronation to be the king of one of the greatest kingdoms in India, is being thrown into exile for 14 years because of a promise his father made to his stepmom. So it is, and it's.
But see, like that, I'm kind of familiar, but that's exactly the point.
It was, what's very, so when I read this book, the thing that is very fascinating is they explain how he walks. His father calls him in the morning, and he thinks his father's calling him for something to do with the coronation, right? It's hours away. So he's walking into his father, and he walks like a lion, right? He's broad shoulders, straight posture, walking fast. He walks like a lion. He hears from his father. His father says, I made a promise, and this is what to your stepmother, that she can ask me for something that a promise was made years ago. She's now told me that you cannot be the king. Her son should be the king, and you need to go into exile for 14 years. So he's shocked, obviously. He's like, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is a shocking moment. And he walks out, and they explain how he walks out. And he walks out like a lion, back erect, smile on the face. And they said the reason he did that is like, why would he accept this injustice? And for him, it's like, number one, it's outside my control. Number two, if right now, I have an option of arresting my father,
Right. It's like
taking
death,
this over.
zero, yeah,
But then what does it do to the social thread of the kingdom?
Right.
So the kingdom must know that the ruler's word has to be respected. King's word has to be respected, even if it means that I need to suffer. So the fascinating moment for me was not just this process, but the whole idea of walking in and out with dignity, despite being under so much stress, and your life's just been turned upside down for no fault of yours. And then to your previous point that you started off, that, the universe always has bigger plans.
Indeed. All right, next question is, in your eyes, what's the difference, or how do luck and skill work together?
I think luck is underrated. I think skill is overrated. Yeah, luck forms a very, very important part of your.
Because I feel like I could see that, like, you've been lucky, right? It's like,
So many times.
Just like, how does that work?
So many times.
So
many
great.
times. I think I've already weaved a lot of that into my stories,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Of doing expenses.
Right.
Like the most, at that time, seemingly the bottom of the food chain in the organization, doing the most menial job after having attained this high education. You're checking people's expenses, to where it took me, to the fact that MoneyHero could have gone bankrupt, and the ability and the presence of an investor to come in, that, I'm going to give you this opportunity.
Right.
Quite honestly, why would you give that opportunity? Right? You could do, there could be better use of $10 million. So
Yeah.
I think luck plays an incredibly important part and it is really important for us to, it's very important when we're coaching to the next generation, that we don't become too righteous about our abilities and about our skills, and give equal amount of credit to, luck is important. But here's a very, very distinguishing factor, and that is, while luck is very critical, being ready to capitalize on it when it shows up.
Right. I feel like that's that balance.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you got to keep working towards this idea that the opportunity will show up. Because if you leave it to luck, then you might as well spend all your money in buying lotteries, and we know how that turned out for most people, right?
Indeed.
So continuing to work. So I think if I go back to the MoneyHero story, is we went a little bit deeper into that when we were talking earlier, is why was I sure when the luck turned around and I was given this lifeline, why was I sure that I can turn the company around in 6 months? Well, that was 8 years of work.
Right.
That was the grit, the detail, the product, the relationships, the teams that you've built over years, to say that, well, now that I've been given this opportunity, I have all the tools to capitalize on it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that for me is the balancing act.
All right. So again, I think, like, in a way, next question we're getting at is kind of utilizing AI. And I think that I don't know if you have a startup, I'm not sure that you're using that I believe in a health sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but again, I would like to get in maybe the broader context of AI and how it's being used, leveraged, probably macro, and then maybe get into the details of, what you're doing with it now. So macro first.
Yeah, I think in macro, look, AI is by far the best business operating tool that has ever existed, right? In my lifetime,
Well, I think that's really well said.
Yeah, and but it's the best operating tool for those who know what they want out of it. So I think if you are in the business of building process efficiencies,
Yeah.
if you are in the business of bringing speed to your clients, then AI will disrupt you.
Yeah.
Right? Because these are the things that AI can very easily displace. What AI will not displace is communities. And that's the part of the human aspect. So I think defining what part of human aspect AI can and cannot disrupt. Now, it is an interesting thing. I remember having this conversation in a business forum back in 2016, 17. We used to call it machine learning back then. I think the word AI was less, the hype was machine learning.
Sure.
And same conversations, what can and can't be disrupted with machine learning. And the consensus at that point was creativity cannot be disrupted. Because, human brain, human creativity, arts cannot be disrupted. And guess what AI did? It disrupted. That's the first thing it disrupted.
Yeah. It's like, hey, can it do my dishes? No, it's going to do art for you. Okay.
Correct. Right? It can write a song for you.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I recently came across a song, Indian song. I couldn't believe it was AI.
So good.
Like I was always of this view that we'll find out. This is not human created. And I heard this song and I loved it. And I'm like, let me go to Spotify and check it out. Who's the singer? It's AI. I'm like,
Wow.
My God.
Yeah.
So I think creativity is what has been disrupted. Will a human connection be disrupted? I believe that's probably very difficult. So AI is extremely powerful, incredible business operating tool, but the people who will benefit the most are the people who know exactly what they want out of it. And in order for you to know exactly what you want, right, you need to have an absolute clarity.
I would say discernment. The same, where it's like I feel like it will take you down a pathway that is incredible and oh wow, and then bam.
Yeah.
You don't, kill you. I don't know, something bad.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing with it?
Well, first of all, I love AI. So I'm chairman of one of the health companies. It basically is the simplest equivalent is it's the Strava of India.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm an active investor and sit in the chair. And what we're doing in Step Set Go, right, is bringing together health and human connections and performance. So we're bringing that together by helping corporates connect with people in this digital world. We help them connect with each other by being healthy. So first of all, we are disrupting the pub culture of the corporates. Sure. So we're like, how do people connect with each other? They go to pubs. So we're saying, no, now you walk together. Right.
Or you bike together and it's all,
you bike, you walk, you exercise together. right? And because when you exercise together, it gives you a very different kind of different types of chemicals
Connection,
and
think.
connection with
Yeah.
people. And usually and our data also shows that when people are talking to each other under the influence of alcohol, there is a degree of negativity in the conversations.
Sure.
But when you're having conversations in a healthy environment, the conversations end up being more productive and constructive,
Sure.
right? And positive. They're more action oriented. So that's what we are driving. We use AI to create various journeys, tools, gamifications, right, that help people keep getting interested in it. So it'll tell you, how far you've reached, what are your goals. Right. It'll give you the right level of nudge. But the ultimate goal is how do you create those real connections between these people, and how do they actually translate those connections that they built into business performance. And that's the measurement that we do within Steps at Go.
Yeah. I heard Sam Altman, although I don't have some issues with him.
Sure.
However, and it's fascinating, the dichotomy of the two things. Want to get more users on there using AI to use and create a better AI from human data. And then on the other hand, he says, what are people looking for in the next 5 to 10 years? And he says, real, authentic human connection.
Definitely.
And it's hard. In my mind, it's hard to wrestle those two statements from what he's trying to get after. And I kind of want to put it over to you because it's kind of feels like it's dangerous. I believe AI is dangerous. People are just telling AI their whole life stories, and like I said, it can walk them down a path, and it can be used to manipulate, and it's so convincing. And so I guess that's, to pass that over to you, is like, how do you think you manage that balance?
I think the first thing I would like to say is, social media started it, and AI is really, really challenging people having original thoughts. Right? A lot of conversations that you have right now with people are somebody else's thoughts.
True.
Being packaged as their own.
Yeah.
Plus being very easily convinced in a distorted truth.
Sure.
There is a fascinating book called Factfulness. It's it's an old book. I think it was written about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I believe the author was Hans Rosling, who's one of the Nobel Prize literates of economics.
Okay.
And it's a fascinating book because it talks about your myths, your belief versus the facts. And he only uses, what's amazing thing about this gentleman is he only used publicly available facts. So he would use facts from World Health Organization, from UN, so not primary research, but actually proper, authenticate secondary research. And it's a myth buster. It's a book full of, this is your myth, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem that the world we are living in, and AI is making it worse, is AI is starting to think on your behalf.
Outsourcing judgment, agency,
Absolutely.
everything. Yes.
Absolutely. Right. And you wanna prepare for an interview. AI is actually preparing the responses for you. AI is preparing business case for you. AI is preparing your investor pitch for you. And I think that's dangerous, because one is we talk about authenticity in human connection. I'm saying it's challenging the authenticity of your own connection with yourself.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We are becoming brainless robots.
I think, and to your point, some of the coursework I'm studying, and my advisor said he's more worried about AI psychosis, and that's the human believing that the AI is awakened, and it's the thing. It's like they've literally outsourced everything, and so yeah, there's already a name for it. You know?
That is, I think that's far more articulate than what I could have said. But yes,
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, we're saying the same
And
thing.
I think that is my biggest fear with AI. That's the biggest danger.
Yeah.
Having said that, let's go back in the 1990s. In the 1990s, there were, I think it was what, 89, 90, something around then. There were widespread protests in multiple cities in the US and many cities in the world against what they called as a test tube baby, which is today known as IVF, right? Because it's against nature. It's going to destroy the world.
Yep.
And now, we hear, now there's AI, there is genetic remodeling of human babies. People are talking about all these kind of things. So the fact, I'll go back to karma and Rama. We have to accept it. This is a reality.
Yeah.
This is not going to go away. This will only play a deeper role in our lives and our children's lives. So we have to accept AI for what it is. And we have to accept that it will have a deeper impact into our lives in years to come. Because everything, like the test tube babies that we thought was us playing with nature, is now mainstream. So everything that makes your life seemingly better will become mainstream.
Yeah.
The question is that how can you be
Have agency in this time, this epoch of AI? Yeah.
absolutely right, and how do you have governance around it? How do you have authenticity around it?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the big part. I don't know what the world will be in 5 years from now. I don't know what kind of jobs will there be in 5 years from now. Quite honestly, I don't.
I wouldn't trust anybody who said they do know,
We have no idea.
Yeah.
But I just think that all I can say is the rightful use of AI is to use it as a tool to do things that you need to do or you want to do quicker, right? Help you streamline processes, right? Help you become more productive, but against your own authentic vision.
Well said. Yeah. All right, so enough the heavy stuff now. Now we're going to chat about, anything else we missed, and we're also going to talk about, the namesake of the show, Zen and Callsigns. And so as we were chatting beforehand, we talked about my call sign from the military and how they kind of work, and my call sign is Hank, and how I kind of got that. But yeah, what about you? What do you think? Do you have one, or just am I going to make a cool one for you? Either now or later. What do you have?
I really don't have a call sign. I do have a story.
All right. Perfect.
and which probably is the closest to the call sign. So I going back to grade 9.
Yeah.
Now grade 10. I'm better health-wise.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm starting to play soccer. And
Are you still playing Mondays?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
I had to stop about 6 months ago because of
Okay.
a knee injury.
Okay. You back?
No,
No?
I still need my knee surgery.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to need the surgery. It's going to take at least a 6-month process, but I haven't even gotten the surgery yet, so not yet. But yeah, so the soccer. So I used to play. I got into soccer. I got into goalkeeping, and
Yep.
I realized that or rather, my team realized that I was reasonably good at it. naturally.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trained yet. So I had to be, so I'm just kind of playing in the school, and they're like, you're pretty natural, you're pretty good, but I'm not trained to be in the team. So it so happened that I went to watch a game for a school game, grade 10, and our main keeper got injured. And there was no backup, so I had my kit with me. They kitted me up. They said, okay, we need you to stand up. So I'm doing that. By now, I'm not trained properly. It's literally started playing like a few months ago.
Yeah.
And this other team realized that because they see me as a weak keeper, as a weak individual. So the forwards kept coming and kept physically coming too close to me. Every time they would run in, they would come close to me, trying to intimidate.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I'm like, okay, it's not bothering me. It's fine. But it was really bothering my defense because they're like, you can't allow this guy. They keep coming, pushing me. They're like, you cannot allow somebody to intimidate you like that. I said, next time he comes, just kick him in the balls. Right? And so I
You're like new guy, like, all right.
yeah, I'm like, okay. I was like, and this happened 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
And this guy's like, listen, I remember this like big defender we had. He was like a senior player, he's grade 12, high school guy. So he's like, if you don't kick him the next time, I'm going to come and kick you in the balls. So I'm under this tremendous pressure. And this guy does it again. He walks towards me. Now, nobody told me that when you kick in a game, you have to be subtle about it. So this guy is running towards me. I don't know what to do. I'm under tremendous pressure to kick him. And I literally walked up and kicked him in between his legs with full force, which ended up in a penalty.
Yep.
Ended up in a red card for me. And ended up this guy them having to call the ambulance. And that gave me, from the next day on in the morning, it gave me the nickname, the kicker.
The kicker.
And that nickname stayed in the soccer world for me for a while. Interestingly,
nobody else came up on you.
No, oh no! It was fascinating, and it became a small legend there, because this was like an inter-school competition. The word spread, and it became a bit of a legend that this guy, like, there was an ambulance and somebody had to be taken out because this stupid goalkeeper actually, broke his nuts. So that's the that's the closest one I could think of.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
So I highly encourage players to please do some training. Be subtle. Be subtle.
Well, thank you for sharing your time and your thoughts, and great conversation, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is phenomenal.
Thanks, bro.